Good morning. You are listening to 10-3 News US. I'm Adam, reporting from Washington, D.C. Today is Monday, December 15th, 2025. We are waking up to a different America this morning. The Senate has passed legislation that fundamentally changes the contract between corporations and workers, a move being called the most significant economic shift since the New Deal. At the same time, our vulnerability has been exposed. A catastrophic cyber attack has plunged hundreds of hospitals into darkness, leaving doctors to make life-or-death decisions without technology. And miles above our heads, a silent victory in space suggests humanity's future might not be on Earth at all. From the legislative chaos on Capitol Hill to the silent vacuum of space, we go beyond the headlines. Here are the three stories defining your reality today. Our lead story. The AI Employment Shield Act has passed, and the aftershocks are just beginning. Late last night, in a nail-biting session that extended past midnight, the U.S. Senate voted 51-49 to pass the controversial bill. Vice President Harris cast the tie-breaking vote, signaling the administration's full commitment to this radical policy shift. Let's look at the fine print. This isn't just a 15% surcharge. The bill mandates that any corporation with over $1 billion in revenue must undergo a quarterly human workforce audit. If their AI-to-human labor ratio crosses a specific threshold, they face penalties that could wipe out their fiscal year profits. The generated revenue is earmarked for the Universal Basic Adjustment (UBA) fund, a precursor to universal basic income designed to support workers displaced by automation. Wall Street's reaction has been nothing short of panic. The Dow Jones Industrial Average opened 800 points down. We are seeing a massive sell-off in the Magnificent Seven tech stocks. NVIDIA and Microsoft alone have lost nearly $300 billion in market value since the opening bell. Top analysts at Goldman Sachs issued a note this morning titled the Innovation Freeze, warning that this tax could reduce U.S. GDP growth by 1.2% next year as companies halt capital expenditure. However, there is a darker side to this story. Legal experts are already identifying a massive loophole. The bill only applies to domestic operations. Tech insiders are whispering that this will trigger an offshoring tsunami. Why keep AI servers and development teams in San Francisco or Austin when you can move them to Dublin or Singapore to avoid the tax? The CEO of Palantir tweeted this morning, "Congress didn't save American jobs last night. They just exported the future to China." Conversely, for the labor unions in Detroit and Pittsburgh, today feels like a liberation. The United Auto Workers, UAW, released a statement calling the bill a firewall against the dehumanization of labor. For the first time in history, the government has legally recognized that human labor has intrinsic value that algorithms cannot replace. The president signs the bill on Wednesday. Expect immediate lawsuits from the Chamber of Commerce seeking an injunction. This battle is moving from the Senate floor to the Supreme Court. Turning to our second story, which is evolving into a national security nightmare. The cyber attack on Medicorp, U.S. Health, and SinaiNet is worse than initially reported. We are now 12 hours into the code black. In Chicago, a Level 1 trauma center had to turn away gunshot victims because their imaging systems, MRI and CT scans, are completely bricked. In Florida, cancer patients arrived for scheduled chemotherapy only to be turned away because pharmacists couldn't access their dosage records. This is not just an IT inconvenience. People are dying. The FBI has confirmed the perpetrators are Dark Side 2.0, but here is the new development. This is a double extortion attack. Not only have they locked the systems, but they have also exfiltrated 50 terabytes of sensitive patient data. They are threatening to release the psychiatric records, HIV status, and private addresses of millions of Americans if the $500 million ransom is not paid in Bitcoin by Friday. This places the U.S. government in an impossible position. The official policy is, we do not negotiate with terrorists, paying the ransom funds future attacks. However, hospital administrators are begging for permission to pay. The CEO of Medicorp reportedly told the White House, "It costs us $50 million a day to be offline, but the human cost is incalculable. We need the decryption key, and we need it now." Security experts are pointing out that this was preventable. A whistleblower report from last year indicated that these hospital networks were running outdated legacy software that was vulnerable to this exact type of exploit. It raises a terrifying question. Is our critical infrastructure, power grids, water systems, air traffic control, just as vulnerable? Finally, let's look beyond the atmosphere. While chaos reigns on Earth, humanity has quietly achieved a victory in the cosmos. The successful docking of SpaceX's Starship Voyager 5 with the orbital fuel depot is a game-changer. To explain why this matters, getting to Mars requires too much fuel to lift off from Earth in one go. You have to refuel in orbit. The test conducted this morning involved transferring super-chilled liquid methane and oxygen at -260 degrees Fahrenheit in a zero-gravity vacuum. If a single valve had frozen or leaked, the mission would have ended in an explosion. Instead, it was flawless. We must look at the timing. This success comes just 2 weeks after China announced their own accelerated timeline for a Mars sample return mission. The US and China are currently locked in a race not just for prestige, but for resources. The Moon and Mars are viewed as the next frontiers for mining rare earth minerals and helium-3. This morning's success keeps the U.S. in the lead, but the gap is narrowing. Elon Musk's declaration that the door is open signals the start of the colonization phase. Investment banks are already creating space economy ETFs. We are looking at a future where the first trillionaire won't be made on Wall Street, but in the asteroid belt. In a week filled with political division and digital threats, the image of that starship docking reminds us of our species' resilience. It suggests that no matter how difficult things get on the surface, our destiny may still lie among the stars. That wraps up our deep dive for today. The passage of the AI tax bill marks the end of the unregulated tech era. The hospital hacks serve as a brutal wake-up call for our digital fragility. And the Starship success offers a glimmer of hope for our long-term future. 3 stories, 1 complex world. Thank you for trusting us with your time. I'm Adam, and this is 1030 News Us. Stay safe and stay informed.